So hello, everyone. And I just wanted to welcome you all to our talk today on how to reduce ransomware dwell times. All right, so I'm Crystal Day Villanueva, the Customer Engagement Specialist here at Lumu, and your moderator today. So for today's session, we have David Sylvester here with us, the VP of Worldwide Sales, and he'll be covering the topic of ransomware from its evolution to who it targets, of course, its financial impacts, as well as how to detect and contain it before it's too late. So we're going to have a quick Q&A with David after his session. So feel free to type any questions that you have throughout the talk, and we'll get to it at the end. So David, I just wanted to welcome you aboard. How are you doing?
Great, CD. Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so the talk is all yours. Take it away.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. Just gonna pull up the slides here for everyone and jump in. So as CD mentioned, the topic today is ransomware, and specifically dwell time. How long can a ransomware attacker stay in your network undetected? And and why is that so critical in stopping ransomware attacks? A lot of the focus has always been on preventing an attacker from getting in the network, and the mindset has evolved. We still work to eliminate the attacker getting in the network, but we also now assume that they will get in. And we're going to talk about dwell time, why it's so critical, and what we can do to limit the dwell time, essentially reduce it from weeks, months to minutes. So that's the talk. So let's first just level set. So there's a lot of information currently in the ransomware world. I'm sure you guys are paying attention to the headlines out there. What are some key takeaways? What actually is happening? Well, first of all, I like to say if ransomware were a stock, you would absolutely want it in your portfolio now and in 2021. It's only going to continue to explode out of control. You're seeing it just go up exponentially. And why is that? Why is this the case? Why is ransomware so productive right now for cyber criminals? You're seeing a few things. One, the payments are getting bigger, and this goes hand in hand with those longer dwell times. But they're able to really, ask for a 10 million ransom, 20 million ransom payment, and force the organizations to make those payments. So, ROI, growing success, why not get in the ransomware game? You're also seeing, more organization by these criminal groups. Essentially, they're corporate entities. There's subscription services for ransomware subscriptions that you can get in the game. And on that note, you're seeing any kiddie, any teenager, anybody who wants to get into the ransomware game in a very desperate world right now, they can easily do so. They can easily get off the sidelines and find a compromised network where Emotet's been running rampant, get in a back door, launch their ransomware, and make a lot of money off of it. So it's very enticing for a lot of people. And in the last 12 months alone, we've seen more ransomware negotiations occur than really ever before. And on that note, a little cartoon just to mix this in, if you check the Bureau of Labor Department from the U.S. government, one of the fastest growing jobs that you'll see is corporate ransomware negotiator. All right. Jokes aside, this is a growing job description. It's not the hottest out in the market, but I will tell you right now, if you go to Indeed.com or CareerBuilder.com and just type in ransomware, right, you're going to see hundreds of job openings for ransomware remediation, ransomware negotiation, ransomware forensics analysis. and that's going to keep going and going. So this is very real. This is designed to be kind of a comical cartoon, but you are seeing organizations move this way, where they simply have a guy that knows they're going to get hit up by ransomware, and he's ready to make payments as necessary to keep the business up and running. That's really where we're heading. So, just like CISO became a real job not too long ago, you're going to see ransomware job specific, people come into fruition at these organizations too. So, let's talk about some statistics. The growing cost of a ransomware attack. We know it disrupts business operations. We know a lot of different things about ransomware. But if you look at when you add up all the costs of a ransomware attack, it doubled from 2019 to 2020. So, $20 billion market now. That trend will continue into 2021 and beyond. It's just, it's too big of an opportunity for wannabe attackers. So expect that to go up. And when you compare ransomware across the board with other types of attacks, there's much better payout. It's the ROI, from level of effort to, launching an attack to getting that payment is so short and easy to do that ransomware attack it's surpassed data breaches. It's surpassed a malicious breach to get a hold of sensitive data. And why not just go straight, cut to the chase and launch that ransomware attack? You're seeing the payments get bigger and bigger as the attackers get emboldened. So just a few examples here. You have a couple South American utility companies here, the Light and Telecom Argentina. This started off as around 7 million ransom payment. In 3 days, it escalated to 14 million, $15 million ransom payments. I mean, they have their sequence mapped out, where they want to get that organization, how they're going to get that money. And a lot of that goes back to that dwell time statistic. You give these guys space to operate, to lurk in your network, they're going to figure out your system. They're going to find those high value IT assets. They're going to know about your backup systems, and they're going to have you on a hook right where they want you to escalate those ransom payments. Now, $15 million, still nothing when you look at a few other examples. Hydro, this is it's a aluminum supplier and renewable energy organization out of Norway. $40 million ransom payment just recently. That is still nothing compared to Modeles, a food company out of Spain, $100 million ransom, and then Maersk, the large Danish shipping and logistics company. You guys have probably seen their giant boats in the ocean, $300 million ransom payment. So, the bottom line here is this will continue to be a problem, and you need to have an answer when it hits you. Expect ransom payments to only go up. Frequency. All right, so 2020, it was 14 seconds a business would be attacked. Now it's 11 seconds. That's 3-second increase. 36% of victims paid the ransom. That's always that challenging figure because a lot of this stuff is done privately. But we are seeing, particularly in the healthcare vertical, they're making payments to get their systems back up and get back to those emergency treatments that they have to do. People can't just get away with this. But again, those payments are only going to make more wannabe ransomware attackers come to fruition. Just goes without saying that just because you pay the ransom doesn't mean that they will not that they will give you your sensitive data back, right? That they will decrypt what they have encrypted. You never have that for certain avenue that you need to know. So 17% never recovered their data. University of Utah, good example of that. So they did everything right. They were compromised, which so often happens now. They had their backup systems in place. But at the end of the day, they still decided to make that $500,000 ransom payment to protect the sensitive data of their staff and of their students, even though they had backup systems. Now, Garmin's interesting because we think they made a $10 million ransom payment. They got hit up late summer, and it looked like they made a potential payment through their incident response partner, their cybersecurity incident response partner. So think of a ransom payment through a middleman, but you're going to a sanctioned organization that OFAC and the U.S. government does not want you making payments to. And if you look at this closely, there's speculation that Garmin prompted that official warning from OFAC that, hey, you cannot be making these ransom payments to these, sanctioned organizations. You can't do it through your cyber insurance company. You can't do it through your cybersecurity SOC company. You are associated, any organization that is handing these payments out to these organizations can get slapped on. So, they can be penalized, and you're going to see that more play out. So that's why, Garmin might have prompted that response from the U.S. government. And then Tesla, this one made, big news, and it's just another way, these guys can get into really high value networks. Luckily that didn't manifest here, but again, an employee at Tesla was approached by a ransomware attack group and bribed with a $1 million offer at the table. Hey, help us compromise your network, get in, and then let us launch the ransomware attack. You can see that playing out in a desperate world, right? That scenario. Luckily, the employee notified FBI, and that was avoided. But again, that's we shouldn't be surprised when we see that type of situation play out. Now, quick world map here to highlight where we're seeing ransomware attacks. First off, it's every corner of the globe. This is a global crisis. You have, more than one out of every two businesses are being impacted by ransomware. Expect this statistic to increase. So, main takeaway from this is there's, no corner is going untouched by ransomware. Let's talk specifically North America and some industries that reported growing attacks with ransomware, and I'll cite some examples. So, you're still seeing traditional players such as government organizations hit up. Now, we are actually seeing some increase around healthcare and education in particular. Education, with school remotely, set up overnight with COVID, that made it ripe for the picking here. And we saw that. You're seeing universities, school districts, K through 12, all getting hit up by ransomware. Healthcare, this is one where I think attackers have had a lot of success because, again, I talked about it earlier, the healthcare sector, they're making payments to get their operations back up. They do not have time to lose when it comes to, a life and death situation in the emergency department. And they're also utilizing a lot of older IT security or IT systems that need to evolve with security. A lot of the instruments, the medical IoT, all designed for convenience over security, right? And so easier entry points. So healthcare, education, financial. We recently saw an attack with a ransomware attack with Banco Estado, a large national bank in Chile. We saw basically the attackers got in through Microsoft Office, which we continue to see, right? They can get in the networks one way or another. This one was through opening a Microsoft Office document. What happened? It knocked the bank offline for a few days, and this is a large bank, very impressive cybersecurity budget, state-of-the-art technology and tools that was hit up by a ransomware attack. So it just goes to show you there wasn't complete paralysis. Banco Estado is not going to, go out of business, but it does show you vulnerability in the financial sector that's traditionally stronger with all the compliance and regulations. IQVIA, healthcare contract research organization working alongside AstraZeneca with the COVID vaccine. Can you imagine, running the clinical trials for a company like AstraZeneca, making progress, going to work one day, you're locked, employees are locked out of their system, and you have to halt the actual clinical trials for a COVID vaccine. That's what happened at IQVIA. Just think about that disruption. Again, dwell time correlates with that disruption, as we'll get into. Last one I want to mention here, the University Hospital Düsseldorf, Germany. This was the first direct instance where somebody ended up dying because of a ransomware attack. This was life or death, catastrophic implications. So the hospital in Germany, in Düsseldorf, could no longer accept people in their emergency department for treatment. A woman had to be transported 20 miles away for treatment, and unfortunately, she did not make it to that hospital. She didn't have 20 minutes to get to that next hospital. So you just start seeing the disruption a ransomware attack can have on an organization, which just ups the ante for making those ransomware payments, right? And that's why this is just going to continue to trend up and up and up. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. There's some good news, right? It's when you look at a recent Gartner report on the topic of ransomware, 90% of the attacks that we're seeing are preventable. How? A lot of it goes back to those security fundamental lessons that we've been learning and preaching the last 2+ decades. A lot of it is preventative solutions. Are you actually looking at? But the last one is where we need to do a better job, and it's being that immediate response. Have that visibility to know when you are actually compromised, and know which IT asset it is before the ransomware attack can spread all throughout your network. And that's where I'm largely going to talk about today, is that immediate response, how to follow up with precision, what you can actually do. Okay? So this is getting into that metric. What is the average dwell time of a ransomware attacker in an organization? 43 days on average. So think about that. That's over 6 weeks. The more common data breaches, you're seeing 6 to 18 months, 200 days on average, to just know you've been, breached, that you've been compromised. Now, ransomware, again, that's shorter. These guys, they want ROI and they want it fast, right? So they want to get in your network. They're going to use those 6 weeks, smart. They're going to be smart about it. They're going to, map out your system, figure out, how to escalate access to certain IT assets, and ultimately launch that attack. And the only reason it's 43 days is because they then let you know, hey, I am attacking you. You need to make this payment, right? That's why you see it shortened. Now, let's historically, we haven't even focused on this dwell time. It's still kind of an afterthought in the whole cybersecurity battle, if you will. We've always been so concerned with not letting attackers get in our network. That's where the focus has been. Still, too many organizations are, all their eggs are in the basket of this whole idea that you can keep attackers out of your network. I'm here to tell you, you have to keep doing what you're doing there, but you have to evolve that mindset. They're getting in one way or another. Companies like Banco Estado, Capital One, these hospitals, they will get in the network. So you have to have that mindset. And with that, you can start doing some immediate steps to reduce that 43-day dwell time to, like I said, a matter of minutes. I'm going to, show you how. But critical metric, something a lot of security operations can't answer today. What is my ransomware dwell time? how fast am I at detecting it, and how can I reduce that? You know, that's what I want you guys to keep your eye on for the listeners on today's call. So, you know, how do we do that? Where do we actually go from here? What can be done if I'm an organization that's looking to, you know, have my cyber readiness when it comes to ransomware attacks? Again, you have to shift the mindset. You really have to be all in that attackers will gain access to your network if they're not already in there. All right. We're looking at thousands of organizations today and measuring compromise. I can tell you firsthand that a very significant number of those clients have compromised networks. And it would be easy to get in and launch a ransomware attack. They're operating compromised. That's a problem. That's a problem that's ultimately going to haunt the organization. So, you know, we can tell you if you're compromised and we can do something about it. Assume compromise, prove otherwise. How do you do that? It all starts with unlocking your network metadata. You know, you're not theoretical sources of intelligence, but your actual network metadata. Why? You know, why is the network metadata the key? Well, ultimately, your network metadata tells you your security story. The attackers have to reside on your network. This is where they like to hide, right? This is where they lurk. This is where they move laterally east to west. This is where they uncover, hey, which is that high privileged IT asset that I'm going to go after. And when it's time to launch that ransomware attack, that I know they're going to pay $15 million because this is just such crippling intelligence. So that's why, you know, that network metadata is key. And what you're seeing now, there's this huge shift, this migratory approach to cybersecurity where it's more this whole idea of, hey, you know what? We need to look intentionally for compromises. And we haven't really been doing that before. We've been doing other types of cybersecurity, such as pen testing, trying to break our system and get in, finding out where we're vulnerable. We've been investing in a number of cybersecurity solutions that say they're going to protect our network and protect our endpoints and stop out in the wild attacks. But these are not translating to intentionally looking for compromise and doing so real time and continuously, right? If you really look apples to apples, oranges to oranges, it's not apples to apples. It's indirectly doing preventative measures that does not intentionally look for compromise in your network. All right. That's critical for the modern organization. That's critical to reduce those dwell times. So you really, you have to have this imprinted in your head that this is the way to go. It's not just, you can't just be toe deep that, hey, I'm going to assume compromise and prove otherwise. You got your whole body in 40-degree weather here and wake up. That's really what it takes. And then measure the effectiveness, provide feedback. What do I mean by that? You've invested heavily in your cybersecurity architecture and it's doing a lot of stuff for you. But are you really looking to see if you are still compromised at your network at the end of the day? Are those solutions working as advertised by the vendors? Do you have metrics, actual numbers that support that? Or are we just, patting ourselves on the back with our investments saying, yeah, we haven't been attacked yet. We think our solutions are working around endpoint, everything we're doing. To me, that mindset has to change there, and you have to get more concrete metrics around it. All right. So going back into this whole idea of why the network metadata needs to be unlocked, why it holds the keys to your cybersecurity story. Well, you look at the last decade. There's a common theme with the attacker's progression as they move through the network, right? As soon as they gain network, they go through what we've deemed the cyber kill chain: planning, exploitation, command and control, ultimately to exfiltration. are launching that ransomware attack. And where are they doing this? Where are they executing the cyber kill chain? On your network. They're utilizing your own IT infrastructure to carry out the cyber kill chain and ultimately launch the attack. So this is the common denominator. Adversaries have to utilize their network to exfiltrate data, to launch the attacks, to lock your screen for a ransomware attack. They're on your network. So it becomes more about how good are you at listening to your network metadata and operationalizing that intelligence. Right? That's at the end of the day, that's what matters. Are you listening to your network metadata, and then are you operationalizing it? That's how you're going to reduce that 43. All right, just from a high level fundamental approach. Listen to your network metadata. All right, now, what are some examples with this? What are some easy steps you can do right now to start measuring compromise, look for communication with ransomware infrastructure, reduce those dwell times, don't get caught off guard. So I'm not going to go into every little data source here, but I'll just tell you guys right now, and I'll challenge you. Right now, as we speak, your organization is generating tons of network metadata. My question to you is, are you utilizing that as a compromise intelligence source? Or is it just pinging out to outer space and not being consumed and utilized? You can actually let that network metadata work for you. It can tell your cybersecurity story. You just have to listen to it. You just have to unlock it. A couple examples that are very easy to understand. DNS metadata. So all your IT assets right now, whether it's your workstations, your servers, your medical IoT, whatever it is, they're connected with your network. They are generating DNS metadata. They're resolving to different IP addresses. You can check very easily right now if we are seeing communication with adversarial domains, right? If we are seeing that, it is very clear there is evidence that you are compromised. And we can see if these are ransomware communications, ransomware domain infrastructure. So are you utilizing your DNS metadata to understand your compromise level? Spam box, another one I'll jump to. Again, most organizations, we see it time and time again. Hey, I use an email security tool, right? It blocks spam. My clients are protected. That's wishful thinking. You see these attackers using the email attack vector to gain access to your network. Do not go to sleep on your spam. You can't do that. There's ways now to unlock your spam as a compromise intelligence tool. And you should be tapping into spam, analyzing it to understand who and how they're attacking you. And then you can actually correlate spam, the infrastructure, the payloads, the malware phishing attacks, back to your DNS metadata. Are we seeing attacks hit home? Right? If there's a correlation, if we see attacks arriving to your spam box that you think is quarantined and blocked, but then we see DNS data showing you communication with that infrastructure, again, that means those attacks are slipping in somehow. That they're not just being blocked by your email security tool, right? So there's, you can do this with the power of cloud computing. This is not hard to do anymore. There's really no excuse not to be listening to your network metadata. That's a key message I want you to take home today. Net flows, same thing. How are they moving east-west? Where are they going? Are we seeing, file transfers? Firewalls, proxies. Again, if they can't coerce your IT assets to resolve out, the only other way to get into your network is by going directly north-south. So access logs, hold that information there. You can do this across your IT infrastructure, hybrid infrastructure, So unlock your network metadata, start measuring your compromise. That's what I challenge you guys to be doing today to stop these ransomware dwell times. So here's a real life scenario. Again, one of the, a very well protected, well funded international financial institution. So again, these guys have all the toys, security toys in the chest, right? The toy chest. They've invested millions and millions of dollars in cybersecurity solutions. Yet, when we start looking what their IT assets are communicating, we see that there's IT assets resolving out to ransomware infrastructure. This example specifically Maze ransomware infrastructure. So, right out of the gate, when you turn on your network metadata, you're going to start seeing your compromised profile. How many IT assets are commuting out? You'll learn about the distribution. And that 43 dwell time goes to essentially minutes here. You know about it right away. And that can make all the difference between a 15 million or 40 million ransomware payment demand or an attack that goes away. That's why that metric is so critical. If you are allowing them 6 weeks to move around in your network, to map your systems, to know your backup system, to know your IT assets that have that most pertinent information, that's what's going to happen, right? They're going to be successful. They're going to be able to get a hold of sensitive data that they can dangle, slowly drip out, and force the poker hand. That's what's happening. So once you get that compromised visibility here, minutes, dwell time goes to minutes. Now, what actually played out here, it's pretty interesting, right? Like the financial institution, moves to remediation. They start isolating the machines. They start blocking communication. Didn't make these Maze ransomware attackers happy. They escalated communication. They tried to spread throughout the network. They became very aggressive. But the whole time, this whole entire attack life cycle, we were able to watch what was happening. We knew which IT assets were communicating, and we were able to ultimately, clean this up and eradicate the communication, and the ransomware payment was never made. That's that difference. That's why this whole talk on dwell time, it's not an afterthought. It's so critical to know about this stuff early on. Do not give them time to, move going forward. So here's my plug of the day. Again, you guys right now, Lumu lets you do this all for free. We already have thousands of organizations starting to measure compromise. We're making this easy for anybody to do, and you can do it too. What is my network metadata saying when it comes to ransomware exposure? Very quickly, you can create an account all for free. We're going to show you exactly if there's communication, and you will at least know about it. You'll start better understanding, if there's communication with this adversarial infrastructure, and then you can make a plan. But for the sake of cybersecurity, listen to your network metadata, whether through Lumu or somebody else. Just make sure that's coming in your program. Why is this so critical? Let's take, if we can look at your cybersecurity architecture as a function, right? That big triangle here. Now, the attacks are going to try to enter your cybersecurity infrastructure. Now, once you start looking compromised behind the curtain, when you really look at what your network metadata is saying, you are going to know what's actually unfolding on your network. And we are not going to see these dwell times of 18 months or years even in a lot of cases, because you're going to know you're compromised. that this is a breakthrough in cybersecurity. It's a whole new approach where the last decade plus, we just keep building up that cybersecurity triangle there that you see, but we're never intentionally measuring compromise behind it. And this starts giving you those metrics. If there's an actual, if there's actual compromise, you are going to have a way to manage your infrastructure. Without a metric, again, it goes back to just that whole wishful thinking and hoping approach that I'm doing what my pen testing report's telling me. I've invested in all of the best solutions from endpoint and so forth. That stuff's all great. You need that to not let people just walk freely into your network, but you need compromise level detection. Can you imagine just, your own house, for an example, if somebody got into your house, had 43 days to go around every room in your house, look for your sensitive documents, your social security, your titles, your children's information. Can you imagine the damage they could do? But when you reduce something like that to minutes, that's to just really level set and tell you what you can accomplish here. So kind of wrapping up here, I want to leave you guys with some takeaways here. First off, things aren't always as they seem, right? You don't know what actually is unfolding behind the scenes, even though you may feel great with your cybersecurity infrastructure and that you're doing, all the best practices with your pen testing, your cybersecurity assessments, you're doing your vulnerability scanning and patching. At the end of the day, you have to unlock your network metadata. It's the single source of truth. That's what's unfolding right now in your network, in your organization. So you have to, basically shift that mindset that you've been told the last decade plus, multi-layered prevention, protection, on and on and on. That stuff's great, but listen to your network. You see this evolution of the cybersecurity mindset. It's not the first time an industry has actually, evolved itself. You look at how the whole university experience in the US, rapidly transforming amongst our eyes. You're seeing Google and these other entities do certifications for education online now. The whole residential landscape being redefined with what we actually do. We've been taught to do, non-native exotics for a long time. That's caused a lot of harm. It's caused a lot of damage. And I see this in parallel with the cybersecurity industry. We've been told to go this direction with a lot of solutions. It's led to this cybersecurity sprawl that keeps generating alert after alert. You see the alert fatigue. And at the end of the day, what is it actually telling us? It's not even telling you, hey, my network is compromised in here. And so it's time we make that shift in our approach to cybersecurity to just do more prioritization with your network metadata. So network detection and response, very hot, growing market. I hope all you guys are getting in on it. Don't be surprised, because that's where cybersecurity is heading, right? The organization that can understand where they're compromised, put it out quickly, and keep the business running is really the ones that are going to succeed, because we know the attackers are going to get in. We see it time and time again. And with that, I want to just thank everybody to hear my presentation today. I'm going to stay on for some Q&A and bring back CD to help me out and moderate. So CD, please come on back in.
All right. So it does look like we have a few questions here. All right. So David, the first one, it looks like is a question that we get quite often. So David, is Lumu like a SIEM?
Lumu like a SIEM. Great question. We do get that one a lot. So, we amplify the value of SIMs. We sit on top of a SIM. We can connect through them with our API, and SIMs, get smarter and more efficient when you add a Lumu compromise detection tool on top of that. So that would be my answer, that it complements what you're doing with SIMs. Now, I'll point out, SIMs were actually, designed a while back more for the compliance standpoint, right? For reporting and forensics, they aggregate a number of logs, but they are not going to measure the entire compromise level of your network, would be how I answer that. Good question, though.
Yeah, very common question we get. The next one I see is someone's asking if they can test Lumu, or how could they test Lumu?
Sure. So we make it, very easy to try Lumu out, and this is something we're bullish on in the whole cybersecurity industry, right? Why are these cybersecurity solution deployments so challenging and hard and long, utilizing a lot of resources? So in a matter of minutes, we let any organization open a Lumu account, start forwarding us their network metadata, and we can tell you, immediately what we're seeing compromised profile wise. So you can do that all, for free. We're not going to, do anything with that information. You just start learning compromise. We're shifting the whole mindset that cybersecurity does not have to be as hard as we've made it to be.
Awesome, great. And it looks like we have time for just one more question. And it says, is it necessary to buy and install physical appliances to deploy Lumu?
Yeah, kind of, I guess, building off on that last question, testing it out. No, nothing physical required here. This is all a passive element that would sit in your network through a virtual appliance. So again, a lot of thought has been given into that quick value day one with deployments, make it as easy as possible. And it's more virtual appliance cloud-based for getting this up and running. No physical appliance needed.
All right, thanks you, David. All right, so unfortunately, that's all the time that we have today. If you have any other questions, feel free to contact us directly. I think we can put, our David's contact there in the chat. And I just wanted to thank David. Thank you so much for your talk, as well as everyone who's made time to come see, and join us here on Bright Talk. This session is recorded, so for those who were unable to attend, or for you to share with your team. All right, thank you guys so much. Have a great day.
Thank you all.